I think the gentleman makes a fair point, but the rules provide members with very wide latitude.
Parliamentary inquiry.
Gentleman will state his parliamentary inquiry.
Does it violate any rules of decorum for a member to read specifically verbatim from a document filed in the congressional records as a resolution?
The gentleman from Florida may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Have you ever referred to African Americans who disagree with you as yellow and then the N-word?
I don't know that I've referred to people as names. I don't know if it's because they disagree with me, but I have said things about blacks and whites. I'm glad you made it clear that I don't only attack whites. Thank you for that.
Have you ever said that? Have you ever referred to African Americans who disagree with you as Negro militants?
I didn't know that was a derogatory statement.
I didn't say it was. Just ask if you used it.
I don't know. I don't recall.
Have you ever said, if the Jews want to get it on, tell them to pin their yarmulkes back and come over to my house?
No, there was a man named Mordecai Levy who had been charged with some terrorist acts who threatened to march on me and several other activists in New Jersey. And he said he was going to come deal with my hairstyle. And I'm referring to his hairstyle. I said for him to pin it and come on. I was not talking about all Jews.
Well, you
no.
said those words.
No, I said about Mordecai Levy.
Have you said, I'm in hell already, I'm in Israel?
Yeah, because I had been threatened that if I came over to deal with
question.
First of all,
I
believe that you can deal with the decorum of the Congress, but you cannot disrespect a witness. You cannot ask a question and tell the witness he can't answer the question.
Is permitted to answer a question.
You're welcome to answer him. How about
Well, then let me answer, sir.
Okay.
Let me answer, because I'm enjoying this. I think that you have.
You're at a committee about policing.
Don't get upset. Calm down. Calm down. You're yelling. Calm down. I think that I'm trying to answer your last question.
Gentleman will be permitted. The time of the gentleman has expired. The witness may answer the question.
The one about offing the pigs. Answer that one.
The witness may answer the question. The time of the gentleman has expired. The witness may answer the question.
The question that he raised, what I was saying was clearly that I have disagreed with blacks and whites. I've used language graphically sometimes to do so, some of which I've grown beyond, but none of which shows anything other than I am an equal opportunity attacker. And I'm glad that Joe Scarborough and I both are equal opportunity attackers that now work together.
Mr. Chairman, I ask to be recognized for unanimous consent request.
The gentleman will state his unanimous consent request.
Mr. Chairman, I seek unanimous consent to introduce the Scarborough resolution as part of the committee's permanent record.
I object. Who's next? The gentleman from Georgia is recognized.
Mr. Chairman, I have a motion.
Now that
The gentleman from Georgia is recognized.
I thank the gentleman for yielding, and I was reviewing your prior answer, Reverend Sharpton. You are cited in a Washington Examiner piece, July 30th, 2019, as having said, if the Jews want to get it on, tell them to pin their yarmulkes back and come over to my house. And in your response to my question, you said you were just referring to one person. So here is my very limited question for you, Reverend. Were you misquoted in this story when you say the Jews and them, referring to a plural group of people rather than one person you seem to have a grievance with?
Well, am I allowed to answer? My name is Sharpton, not Lewandowski. I will answer the question if I'm allowed.
Please.
We know your name, sir. Go ahead and answer.
And you then know that I'm going to answer. I was referring to an incident and a threat to come to my home by Mordecai Levy and to the homes of, I believe, Reverend Daughtry and others. How the Examiner, I think you said, or someone else wrote, I'm not looking at it, so I do not know whether they misquoted me or not. I do know what I said and who I was referring to.
Well, did you say them?
I just said that I'm not looking at the statement. I do not. You're talking about a situation that happened in 1991. If I said them, the, or those, I don't know. I know that incident and I know what I was referring to. And a man threatening to come to our home who had that kind of criminal record. And I had two young children, I think under 5 years old.
Thank you. I appreciate the answer.
I'm not Lewandowski. Let me talk. I'll talk. I'll testify before this committee.
So is it your belief that
If I
negative
said
things
them or
said in
not, would that help or
1991
hurt excessive force of policing?
Well, I think it's pretty significant when someone wants to come and preach to us.
Mr.
about
Chairman, point
raising
of
the federal
parliamentary
standard
inquiry.
and then-
Mr.
Point
Chairman.
of parliamentary inquiry.
Who
Point of
asked
parliamentary
first?
inquiry.
Someone else did first. The gentleman will state his point of.
I don't believe you talk about the people that come
Gentlemen,
before you.
The gentleman will suspend. The gentleman will state his point of parliamentary inquiry.
Mr. Chairman, when a witness is asked a question in a hearing before this Judiciary Committee, do our rules provide that the witness is permitted to answer the question?
The witness is permitted to answer a question.
I have a parliamentary.
But the member controls the time.
Parliamentary inquiry.
Hold on. The member controls the time. If the member judges that the question is answered to his satisfaction, he may go on to another question. The
Parliamentary
gentlelady will state
inquiry.
her point of parliamentary inquiry.
When a witness is attempting to answer the question, is it the rules of this committee that the witness be allowed to answer the question? And is it also in the decorum of this committee to not badger the witness if the witness is attempting to answer the question?
The member, well, there are two answers. The member controls the time. If the member thinks that the question has been answered to his satisfaction, he may cut off the answer and go to a further question. However, it is not permitted to badger a witness. We do afford members considerable latitude, but badgering witnesses is inappropriate, and our committee should not conduct itself in that manner. It is expected that all parties to these proceedings comport themselves with decorum and professionalism, and at all times in a manner that reflects creditably on the House of Representatives. House rules require the chair to maintain order and decorum, and I will do so. The gentleman controls the time.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I ain't having no march. I believe in fighting. Well, fight then. Ain't nobody holding you. I'll off the man. We'll off him. Plenty of crackers walking around here tonight. Did you say those words?
I do not recall saying I will not march. I think for the last 40 years I've marched. I think that you're referring to, and I'm not sure, but I think you're referring to when I was dealing with some people that said that they don't want to march and that they're going to off people. And I told them there are plenty of people walking around that they called the name. They're not offing anybody because I felt that they were just trying to disrupt our asking
Thank you, Mr.
people
Sharpton. And in
to
that
march.
statement,
So
did you
in the
refer to white people
context
as crackers?
of I was
Mr. Chairman,
quoting
for
as I said, quoting as I said the reference made
We
about
taught
I don't want to
philosophy and
march.
astrology and mathematics before Socrates and them Greek homos ever got around to it. Did you say that, Mr. Sharpton?
I talked about African history, and I talked about how we had dealt with astrology as well as mathematics and philosophy and religion in Africa.
But you referred to people as Greek homos, didn't you?
I do not recall how I referred to anyone. And
That's quite
you'd have to cite.
Do you think that your bigoted statements in 1991 are excusable just because they were in 1991?
I think that any statement that I've made that was wrong, I have clearly said that we should not make bigoted statements, including me. I also think that to
Have you made
distort,
bigoted statements?
I think
Have you
that
made bigoted
also to
statements, Reverend?
distort.
Have you
You
made
can,
bigoted
you
Will
can
the
ask,
gentleman yield?
you can ask all the questions
Gentleman
you
yield?
want, but I'm going to
I wanna
answer
know
the
if you
question.
Will the gentleman
make bigoted
yield?
statements. When you call Greek homos, when you talk about white crackers, those are bigoted statements.
I think I made it clear that I was quoting what somebody said.
No, you-
Yelling
that's what
and
you
getting
said.
upset is beneath your office. You
Gaetz,
should
will
calm down.
suspend. The gentleman will state his point of order.
Once again, Mr. Chairman, after a sustained attack on the character of a witness that has been called by people on this panel, and that panel then attacks that witness in a sustained, deliberate manner, which is non-germane to the subject at hand, is it appropriate for a member to ask that the offending member's words be taken down?
It is not under the rules appropriate. The time is the gentleman's.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I would note these are highly relevant to the issues that we're facing. Reverend Sharpton has come before the House Judiciary Committee
Excuse me, the clock should be running.
as a purported expert on policing, and yet his bigoted statements undermine the bipartisan work we should be doing to ensure that all citizens are able to come together and have safe communities.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman. How is this
Gentleman will state his
germane?
point of order.
How is this line of inquiry germane? And if it's not germane, is it appropriate?
To the point, may I speak to the point?
He cited Jermaine.
Setting a specific rule that says that this is not allowed, that we can then rule on.
Well, is there such a rule? I don't think we should allow our, Mr. Chairman, we have had a series, we've had a witness who came before us 2 days ago, Mr. Lewandowski, who totally contemptuously dealt with this panel. And now we have a reverse of that. We have one of our members doing the same thing to a witness who we have called. I don't think it is within our best practices to allow our process to get down to the level that we have now sunk. And I'm asking the chairman to, in the wise use of discretion, to rule that the gentleman from Florida's line of inquiry with this specific witness, who he's trying to attack his characters, no question about that, but
I'm reading his own words back.
doing it in a
Gentleman will
sustained
have
way,
the time, not you.
and
He
doing
does? I have the time, Mr.
and
Chairman.
not
No, you do
having
not.
uttered
What
a
is it?
single
Regular order? Is this a point of order? What is?
Point of order, Mr. Gaetz, you don't have the floor.
The gentleman is being heard on the point of order.
not
Will I be
having-
heard on the point of order?
The
Not
gentleman
having-
is being heard on the point of order.
not having uttered a single word of relevance to the issue at hand, is it appropriate for this committee to allow the misuse of this platform to attack the character of a witness? I mean, this is taking our process down to a level that we should never allow it to descend to. And I'm objecting to us wallowing in the mud down here with these comments. I mean, it's not whether or not it's true or false, it's the fact that it's non-germane.
To the point?
The chair will rule on the point. The chair will rule on the point of order. Although the gentleman's comments may be obnoxious, although they may
I object to that. Point of order. That is an improper
although the
characterization of
gentleman's
the member of the
comments
committee.
may be characterized as whatever you want to characterize them as.
I have a point of
gentleman-
order that your words be taken down and referred
Oh,
to.
woe is me.
Gentleman-
I pick a fight and
gentleman
now I
has
need
wide-
help.
Under the rules, the gentleman has wide latitude, both on the question of germaneness and on the language that he uses. And unfortunately, under the rules, I cannot overrule him. The gentleman will proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You sold your life story, Mr. Sharpton, to your own charity. How much money did your charity pay you for the rights to tell your story?
Parliamentary inquiry. Mr. Chairman, this is an outrage, and the question is whether you can impugn the motives and/or insult or badger the witness or cost or characterize his presence at this
Jackson,
table.
the gentlelady was not recognized.
Well, I have a parliamentary inquiry, Mr.
All right,
Chairman.
the gentlelady is not recognized. All right, stop the clock. Just stop. All right, you'll state the parliamentary inquiry.
I thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think the gentleman from Georgia made a point about a witness that we had just 2 days ago, which the impugning of the motive, the character destruction was not in the course of our questioning. What I say to our good friend from Florida, that you are now not only not being germane, but you are pointedly attacking the character, and in addition, bringing up information
It is not.
that, well, let me just finish. Bringing up information, it's an inquiry. Bringing up information that is a character destroying. And the question is, in the questioning of a witness, can you use items that refer to the witness's character and demeaning the witness's character? Is that an appropriate line of questioning?
Whether it is an appropriate line of questioning is not relevant. But with respect to the parliamentary inquiry, questioning a witness's character and motives, which may go to ascertaining the credibility to give to the testimony. We have always given very wide latitude, and the answer has to be that I cannot object to that. The gentleman will proceed.
How much money did your charity pay you personally, for the right to tell your life story?
My charity owed a certain amount of money to me and asked, could they use that money to have the right to sell any rights to my life, be it documentary, one-man play, or other items that they have already began reaping dividends. They would have had to pay me the same sum anyway because it was owed to me.
Was that sum
so
over
the
$500,000?
answer, can I finish?
Was it over $500,000?
Can I
What
finish? Whatever the
more or
sum
less
was,
than $500,000
the sum, whatever
your
the
charity
sum,
gave you to tell your life story? Because I think most people would see that as
charity
a fraud. As a
again,
straight fraud. by
charity
someone engaging in
again owed me a certain amount of money that they
Over
would have had to
$500,000? I
pay
want an answer.
anyway,
Will you instruct him
and
to
they
tell us
were.
whether or not
I
it was more
agreed
than
to allow
$500,000
them.
or less than $500,000 that his charity paid him for his life story?
Gentleman's time.
I allowed
expired.
them to use
Gentleman's-
those funds
Chairman, I
to
asked you to
have
instruct the
my
witness. Was it
right.
more than $500,000?
Gentleman will suspend.